And though the camera had fallen, he did pick up that camera, point it, and regain its posture in such a way as to galvanize in his mind the importance of the past. It afforded him a moment or two to contemplate the value of such a radiance as he dismissed easily on a cold wintry day such as this. The countenance of the pride of his father, the long life of his mother, the greatness of his home, and the satisfaction of all the labors which he imagines he has undertaken before he was born to right the world from wrong and sing a song as no satisfied corporal being could ever wish to espouse, and from the many virtues of his innermost genius. Sacrifice, pains that he takes to find an equilibrium among the very confusing forces which we all try very hard to balance, but also it is very difficult. And we at such labors that our weariness and all of the many violences that erupt among us are the biggest proof ever in history that man's burdens are not from some fabled ill condition, but because we have had too many burdens heaped upon us by an agency which does not want to be named. It doesn't want to have its actions and make sure that it legally and socially never has its actions scrutinized. Yours or eyes would be for fucking moving through a stop sign too quickly. You understand? So there's a lack of proportion in what we are accountable for. The greatest liberty always flows to those who have the most to wield over the most. Right? The greatest liberty flows to the rulers of the world. They have the greatest liberty, not the greatest responsibility, but the greatest fucking freedom to put up their feet and collect all the booty from what the economic system is meant to derive, but also meant to deprive you of great displeasure in allowing it to continue doing so. Much as you count your life is that you have worked so hard and have attained to so much. And no one is going to take it from you by talking about a different frame of reference that, if nothing else, can account for some of the diseases which you nonetheless suffer for generations. I'm getting a wee bit eloquent. A memoir. And it starts with a fart. It starts with a swollen anus. This is my ass. This isn't really the beginning of the story. I just wanted to show you my asshole. I wanted us to be friends. People, you could reciprocate if you don't want to see it, but you could pretend like right now you're showing me your asshole. I think, good. Now we're at least at the level of dogs. We've sniffed each other's asses. We find that we're not going to do each other harm, and so now we follow the rules of beasts and fowl and all creatures of heaven and earth. Not do any harm to each other. You're not my, I'm not yours. And so there is peace in the land. We can hum and growl and haw and walk around and stalk our own thoughts, and we will never, ever need to worry about or dog, as it were. Wouldn't that be nice? And all we had to do is smell each other's assholes. Or if you want to, substitute in something, you could just tell other people about your God. Think about that for a second. Take a moment to process that, to absorb it, almost like a suppository. Because that's how I feel when you tell me about your godforsaken religion. All right, that's enough out of me, enough out of my smartness, my father would say. You're trying to take the mickey out of the world. I'm just trying to take the rickets out of my family tree. Thorns are not a bad thing in nature because many fair birds will go into the thorny bush of the holly in wintertime that would seek the refuge of Odin himself, or the oak, or the strong man, or the great mind, which is thine. If you have to survive on this earth, you have a great mind. Let no one and nothing take that away from you, not in word, not in law, not in magic, and keep it to yourself. My mother said to me something today. She says she learned to keep secrets when she was a child because it was the one thing she had that no one could take away from her. I heard the same thing in a movie on Netflix from a police officer. Cries and smiles, says Ethan Hawke. The two things you can keep to yourself and not show anybody, your cries and your smiles. Oh, this world so weary, and one night when I was so dreary, quoth the raven, nevermore. Nevermore my ass, motherfucker. I want to live like there is a tomorrow. I want to know the past as a path of jubilant glory, waiting for every great stroke of all our mischance, strewn like the roots of the tree of life itself, and everlasting satisfaction that all our labors are born of extreme survival necessity. In our mother's wombs and in all the beauty of nature, the concussions of what man hath made of man. And who holds what over whom, and what agonies we suffer for naught. And still we think it is worth our while, because never do we suffer that we do not think we have a reason to do so. Man's suffering is everywhere, eminently reasonable. Until someone could make a buck telling you it isn't. And then someone else makes a buck treating you as though it is. And bucks are made on both sides of what is or is not reasonable to feel afraid or angry or sad about this, that, or the other. I feel like a preacher, a witchy preacher, preaching to my choir of wintry angels and little Jack Frost. And the froth on the matless, angry, alcoholic parents, frothing like dogs from the rabies of the world. How many inappropriate guests, how many games of sexual mischance do dot the world with the river of grief and sadness? That we who find ourselves like scavengers and lovers and find such beauteous lengths and stretches of these heavens in our solitude, as we cannot find a way to trouble ourselves too little to want to tell the world, and only kept safe by in our all our no one would believe us.